So next up, we are being joined by Jenn Hodge. And Jen's been just pretty amazing in really being a voice in the home educating community, a voice of common sense that we've appreciated. So I hope you are actually seeing the correct slide. I can't. I'm doubting myself now, but hopefully you're seeing the
Yeah,
correct
no, you've
slide.
got the right one, Juliet.
Okay, good. And let me stop the share and then I can bring you in. When you're doing these live streams, it's all over the place. You don't, you kind of think, oh, I'm on this page, and then suddenly something else pops on, and then you don't know where you are anymore. So I'm trying to now spotlight you. Let me try and do that. Oh, I think you have to put your camera on to be spotlit.
Oh God,
Uh,
no, I can't
okay.
do that. I'm sorry, you've got my
Okay.
voice or nothing is the only option today.
Okay. Well, that's fine. So she's joining
Just
in
leave my little screeny thing up, can't you?
without the camera. That's fine. And Jen, we've actually had a really good day today with just so many different people joining, having a fantastic conversation, so many aspects and facets on the spectrum that is home education. I mean, it's just I can't believe how well it's just gone really well.
That's great. I've like popped into the YouTube a couple of times, but unfortunately I've not been well enough to watch the
Yeah,
stream,
and
so
I
I
know
will
you.
watch another day.
Yes, and I know you've been through the ringer a little bit, and but we couldn't not do this without you here.
Thank you.
So yeah, would you like to share a little bit about, your foray into home education? How did that happen for you as a family, and kind of, how that looks for you today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I chose to home educate when my eldest was 6 months old, simply because everybody started saying to me, when are you going to put your baby into nursery and when are you going to go back to work? And I enjoyed being a mum a hell of a lot more than I had enjoyed the job that I was doing at the time. I think probably any job I would have done. And so I was like, well, do I have to send her to nursery? Do I have to do this? And I did a quick Google and it was like, no, no, we don't. And then the conversation just developed that evening to kind of, well, actually, I wasn't a fan of school while I was there. And my husband felt the same. He'd had different experiences, but very much felt the same. So yeah, we just made that kind of decision almost kind of an instant gut decision that we wouldn't be using school, that we would home educate. So I did a quick Google. Was it legal? Yes. What did you have to do? Um, and obviously over the years we thought about it lots. We had conversations. We went to home ed groups. We met people. But it was that kind of first gut instinct decision was made really on that first evening back nearly, well, 17 and a half years ago. And then we haven't kind of looked back since. So I've gone on to have four children. None of them have ever kind of done nursery or school. They've been kind of organically home ed. My eldest is in college. My second eldest just started a couple of days ago. And then I've got two who are kind of coming up behind.
Okay, I can put my audio back on. I'm
Hmm.
eating my dinner as well. Um, so Jen, you have also kind of delved into the whole world of sort of alternative provision, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a doer, and as you may have noticed, so certainly fairly soon after kind of joining the home ed community when the kids were toddlers, really, the eldest two were toddlers, I started helping like organize home ed groups and home ed meetups and things, and it was kind of a natural progression for me, a natural just part of my personality to organize and bring people together and do stuff. And then I got involved with quite a large home ed group that had been going a long time, and I kind of joined their committee. So um, that kind of built in the background. And then when my eldest two were kind of around 12, 11, 12, 13-ish, they really wanted something that they could do that didn't have everybody's parents there and loads of toddlers running around. which is the kind of stuff we'd done so far, really, other than, I mean, obviously they met up with mates kind of away from groups, but the groups were very much kind of, family-based groups. And I at the time was also looking to do something. I wanted to start a thing, to do a thing. I was thinking more and more, I was learning more and more and thinking more and more about neurodiversity and about needs and about how really just how poor our school system is. I'd spent a long time sat on the fence with friends, as you do as a kind of early home eder, going, well, that's wonderful that you make that decision and we make our decision and it's great to have choice. But as time went on, I was becoming a little bit more militant in my feelings that actually school really wasn't wasn't good. It wasn't a great place to be. So I wanted to start something that did that kind of offered group learning in a different way to what school offered. And we started off with holiday clubs. That was kind of the beginning bit for the first 6 months. Perfect timing. So I started the business on Christmas Day 2019, which I'm sure we know which direction this story is going in. First holiday club was February 2020, and then obviously COVID hit. And so we had a pause there, and I got very involved in kind of the community's effort, supporting the community with volunteering and managing all that. And then that October we started our first home ed group, and it's grown from strength to strength. So now we have our own premises. We have about I think there's spaces for about, we've got probably have about 80 to 100 young people come to us every week home educating. And they do anything from kind of a morning to 2 days. And we offer a whole range of things. So I've got a team of staff, we've got ex-teachers, forest school leaders, all sorts. And we kind of offer everything from it's all educational based. So we have everything from like art and nature and outdoor learning style stuff, cross-curricular, English, maths, functional skills, kind of a whole range. And we still do kind of holiday clubs and all sorts. So yeah, most of the provision is accessed by home educated young people, but we do also have the kind of alternative provision strand running through it. So we have maybe anywhere between kind of, I don't know, 3 and 10 at any one time children who are on roll at school or on an EOTIS program. Um, but that may change. That may change with the government's just released voluntary guidelines for alternative provisions, which will become compulsory soon. And whilst 95% of those guidelines are, they generally cover safeguarding and sensible stuff you would do anyway, um, they are there's a nice big section on things like schemes of work and tracking children and progress and monitoring where they are on a graph. And those are all the kind of things that I think are fairly toxic to a learning environment.
Thanks, Jen, for explaining that. And then you also have your website, Doing Education Differently, which in where where you share some of your thoughts about and your vision for different kinds of
Yeah,
different ways of doing
absolutely.
things.
And
Yeah,
I feel I should actually, because I should have said this at the beginning. I do apologise for not having my face on. The reason I've been unfortunately fairly unwell recently, and so I'm not able to I'm not screen worthy at the moment. I've got my screen dimness down very low, and I'm kind of
oh
sat
dear.
in a dark room. So I do apologise. And if I'm
Yeah,
not as sharp as usual, that's why. So yeah, doing education differently kind of came from a place of me wanting to be more vocal about my thoughts. I'm a keen writer. I love to write. I love to speak. And the work is a kick. So it's a CI community interest company. So you can't campaign through a kick. So I had to be quite careful not to make sure my voice was distinguished between being CEO of an organisation and a campaigner. So that's kind of where doing education differently came from. And yeah, I try and I'm not very good at make like I can't plan out what I'm gonna say. I'm very, it just comes. I just there's lots of I've always got lots to say, clearly, as I think
Well, it generally comes
everyone's.
very well, and
Um,
it's generally quite articulate and um, exactly what we would have written
thank-
if we could
thank
flow like that.
That's good to hear because it does just have to come. It just has to come, and energy levels depend sometimes. And I play around with it. I generally do tend to post kind of longer posts, and I when I've got some time, ha ha ha. I did plan to start a Substack and kind of try and keep my Facebook posts a bit shorter, but they do the job, and I do experiment with doing shorter posts sometimes, and focusing more on graphics and visuals. But I have an awful lot to say. I am very pro full school reform. I believe that we should be play-based all the way through primary, and that children should be allowed to specialise as soon as they want to. I believe that GCSEs should be limited to 4 or 5 max, and that should be rolled on to colleges not and universities, so there's no expectation of more, and that there should be time spent um, on learning without attainment, that there should be just learning for the joy of learning, that there's no reason why you can't study 8 subjects, but you don't need to be writing assignments and passing exams for all of them. And there should be a focus on well-being, mental health, life skills, time outdoors, being active. So yeah, kind of my vision for schools, I believe is a good vision. I believe it would work very well. I think it's backed up by a huge amount of evidence. So that's kind of what I'm quite passionate about. But I'm also very keen to support home education still. It's just an alternative provisions. The problem with our world is quite often we get a little bit, we all tend to jump on the little thing that we do and go, oh, everybody should do this or everybody should do this. And it's that the governments are very good at that. You know, we have one solution, we have one thing, and it's like, well, no, what we need is variety because in fact, some families just work better with home education. And even if schools were different, I think I would have chosen certainly for them to be at home through primary and then probably as they reach that kind of 12, 13, giving them the option of some kind of flexi school arrangement if schools were different. But they're not. So yeah, I think you need all options really. And yeah, I get quite infuriated by the narrative that's currently being spun, particularly on things like safeguarding, because it, it's this thing of this vice grip is all I can think of that you squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, but you can't squeeze people into safety. You can't just keep squeezing and expect everybody to be okay and that we're all going to be well and safe because we're not, because unfortunately bad things happen and they always will. However, if you invest in communities and you make sure that you have got a thriving lots of that all our communities are thriving with lots of places that to be lots of free to access or low cost to access groups and opportunities and activities and theatre and music and groups for people in their native language to get together to speak and share. And if we create thriving communities, then we will look out for each other. People always have someone they can go to. I think the more isolated we become, and the more Big Brother and the more fear-based we govern, people just that's where they get hidden in the shadows is when everybody's kind of terrified of everybody and being reported by everybody and people inspecting. It doesn't, abuse will continue to go on no matter how many times you inspect somebody, because we know that already from all the cases where children have been harmed and they've still been on the radar. So if we have communities where everybody feels they have someone to go to, then when they know something's happening, because somebody always knows, a neighbour knows, somebody knows, Mrs. Jones from down the street, milkman, whatever, somebody always knows that something's going wrong in the vast, vast, vast majority of cases. And if they have someone they feel they can safely talk to, who they trust, um, then they will talk about it and people will be supported. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm my kind of areas of interest, I suppose.
Yeah, and because of the children's well-being in schools bill, there's some things that have really got you more involved and more active in voicing on behalf of so many actually what we're thinking. Um, I'd want to talk a little bit about what you've been using the website for in response to that.
Yeah, so the website needs some energy in it at the moment, and that's just a reflection. Unfortunately, it's on a bit of a it's still completely accessible and usable, but it's on a little bit of a pause at the moment from being updated just while I kind of recover. But we've used it's been used as a kind of a bit of a central point of quick information as to why we're upset about the bill, what the problem is, and what we're kind of doing about it, but also collection of school stories, stories of school not working, kind of children's voices speaking up about school or about home ed or about their life or just about what they want and need. Um, and there's also a lovely little alumni gallery there of home educated young people. And I'm not sure at the moment. I've been toying with I might like freeze it as it is and like hit a certain point and go, okay, this is an expression, this is a snapshot of people's experiences. I'm weighing up at the moment, but
Yeah,
it's a great place if you've got kind of MPs or people that don't understand what the problems are, they can go on and read
yeah.
stories, parents and
And
children.
you're still collecting the stories, aren't you? People can still go and add their
So they
stories.
can at the moment. The person that I had adding them is currently not they've had some time off over the summer, so there isn't updates happening at the moment. But yes, people can still add them and we will get them added at the moment.
So the
Quite
stories you're
excited.
collecting is first of all the children's or parents, families, whatever their school stories. So where where families have had to kind of
It's just where school's gone
yeah
wrong. So
yeah yeah
it's and adults can post for themselves as well, so they can talk about when they were children. So essentially, the school stories is kind of an adult's voice, so you can talk about your own experiences or your experiences of your children, and then the child's voice is for anyone under 18 who wants to share their kind of thoughts and opinions. Um,
yes
the Home Ed Alumni Gallery is lovely as well because I think if you are new to home education or if you are trying to convince somebody that it is a completely valid, sensible, fantastic option, you've just got some great pictures there of people who were home educated and have gone on to do just a variety of cool stuff. And
yeah. We did have somebody earlier on asking about outcomes for young people who are home educated, and this is a good place to go and have a look
yeah,
to see what has become of some home educated young people in a very quick
absolutely.
way.
Absolutely, and I think I was chatting to my daughter about this the other day because I'd met up with another home ed mum who we'd kind of known each other for I don't know 10 years or so, and we'd kind of watched our kids growing up, and we were kind of we were feeling very smug because we were like, oh yeah, look at our, yeah, the kids are in college and they're fine and they spent most of their life up trees playing Lego, not at the same time, but
Mm.
um, doing all that kind of stuff, and how they had naturally, in different ways, they'd naturally developed into their kind of their areas of interest, and what the people they had become had happened organically, and they had gone on to be, to be doing the thing. And my daughter kind of turned around and said, I that's not a measure of success though, remember? Like college isn't a measure of success. College was right for us, but a measure of success is the people we are. And I was like, yeah, 100%. We were just, me and my friend were just being a bit, we're just being a bit silly. We're being a bit like, yay, look at us, it's all been great. Saved our kids all this aggro and the kind of the being catcalled and the dodgy messages and the bullying and the pressure and the stress, and they've been able to invest their time and energy into the things that interest them, and they've been able to become experts in their field. And but the proof of the pudding is the people they are. And I think that it's kind of always important that, when we look at that gallery as well, that we're not going, oh, look at them, they're a director of this, or look at them, they're really, rich and doing this or whatever. The point is they are healthy humans who have lived a life and had experiences, and they are part of their community. And
Yeah.
that's kind of going back to kind of the law that kind of, that we should be raising our young people to be able to be active members of their community and whatever that looks like. And that's certainly what that alumni shows is a wonderful range of young people doing just really cool stuff, just really different, diverse things.
Well, if I think I started home educating in 1998, and we had quite an active, vibrant home education group in South Africa, in both cities we lived in. And I know quite a few young people who are now in their 30s who
Mm,
are home educated, and they're all doing absolutely fine. They're all okay. There's nothing weird,
oh,
nothing harmful. They're not in jail. They know didn't you're not stoned on drugs. They are all working, they have families, some of them contributing to society, just living their lives.
well,
And I think
yeah,
this is the point. It says there's nothing to see here.
yeah. I mean,
Everyone's fine.
it's very interesting, isn't it? That if we go back 100 years or 100 years or so, like home education was the elite. That's what
Yeah.
kings and queens had and wealthy people have, and the government has done a very good, like successive governments have had a very good job of it's very similar to what's happened in the birth world that we've seen this alarming rate in cesarean sections, and whilst they are absolutely cesarean births are completely valid, necessary, wonderful, life-saving things, we don't need 40% of births to be via
Yeah.
cesarean.
Yep.
And the same thing is happening with education, that we've gone from what was completely like seen as, because whilst natural birth 100, years ago, yes, of course, at times of when they had trouble with hygiene and things like that, they would have problems. But essentially, that's how the world managed to grow as big as it did because we didn't have it. We didn't have cesarean birth before then. And the same with home education, that what was once just the norm or you either learnt at home and went into a trade or you were wealthy and had tutors and whatever, but it's now become this, oh, actually, this one size fits all 30 odd kids in a classroom all being taught the same thing in the same way day in, day out with all sorts of really unpleasant stuff going on in the background, that's now seen as the elite and the top. And you kind of go, that's really strange when I consider the experience that my kids have had. And it's not like we are human. And I think this is the thing about home education. Home educated young people will have tricky times. They will go through stuff. They might have mental health and stuff. They might have challenges. The family will have challenges. People will be poorly. People will lose their jobs, have jobs, move, stress. They're standard human beings. Home education doesn't make you elite, but what it does do is mean that you can, as you said a bit earlier, that kind of protection, that creating a safe space, creating space that fits them, that they can grow and move in, that works for them. That if they need lots of people, you can create a space where there's lots of people for them. And if they need if they're quite introverted and need lots of time on their own, they can have more time on their own. So it's just this strange way that our society has gone, where so many areas have been warped. And interestingly, they're mostly to do with that kind of parent-child natural connection, and we've just lost our way.
Yeah.
I really hope we can find our way back across kind of.
I do too, because I think that for the children's sake.
Well, for our society's sake, I think we're in a fairly dark place at the moment, and I think I try and be, as you know, I'm ever the optimist, and I do believe that we can pull this around, um, and we do see the pendulum swing in society that we get all very extreme in one way, and then we get all very extreme in another way, and then in many areas it does settle.
Yeah.
So it's interesting times.
Yeah. I wanted to just highlight that there have been some comments in the live stream. Um, Thank you for being such a loud, important voice, Jen. We all appreciate you and get well soon. And then the next one was, she's brilliant.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you
That
so
was
much.
good.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
lovely.
So that's always good to hear.